Welcome to the ExecMBA podcast. I'm your host, Brett Twitty, and you are listening to a new episode. On this episode of the podcast, I'm excited to share a recent conversation with three student leaders of the Entrepreneurship and Venture Capital Club serving the professional and degree programs here at the Darden School of Business. Maxwell Godwin, Eugene Cho, and Holden Hershey. I think you're really going to enjoy this conversation. And as always, if this conversation is helpful for you, please like this episode and subscribe to the ExecMBA podcast so you never miss an update. And remember, you can always check the episode description for links to Darden blogs, social channels, and more. And now, without further ado, here is my conversation with three student leaders of the Entrepreneurship and Venture Capital Club serving the professional degree programs here at the Darden School of Business. Maxwell Godwin, Eugene Cho, and Holden Hershey. Maxwell, Holden, Eugene, welcome to the podcast.
Hi there.
Thanks for having us.
It's great to have you here. Maxwell, how's everything going? How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well, Brett. It's been a very, very busy summer going into the fall with a new cohort, new class of students at Sands Family Grounds with the part-time MBA 27 class and the new EMBA 26 class coming online. So there's a lot of fresh new faces around Sands Family Grounds, and we're excited for a new group of people that are excited about entrepreneurship and venture capital.
Yeah, this is the occasion for this conversation. It's talking about the Entrepreneurship and Venture Capital Club that serves our professional degree students here at the Darden School of Business. But before we get into that, I want to talk a little bit more about y'all. Max, people may recognize your voice from your prior appearance here on the podcast. We got some new folks here too. Holden, how's everything going?
Things are good, Brett. Busy. Part of the part-time MBA 2026, so about a year into the program. Life's been busy. Switched jobs back in January of this year, working at RBC on a family team that we started my hometown back in the 50s. There are 5 of us. Got married a month ago, or I guess 2 months now. So that's been exciting. And then a lot of things happening in the entrepreneurship through acquisition world as well. So all in all, things are pretty good.
Yeah, congratulations. I didn't know about your nuptials. It's so interesting to me. People, when we talk to prospective students, they always want to keep everything the same. I can't do anything else. I'm just really focused on how am I going to make school work with everything else in my life. And then we talk to people who they get engaged, they get married, they move, they buy a home, they have kids. Any number of things happens during these MBA programs beyond just being an MBA student. All of this can coexist. Has it been manageable for you? I know that's a lot of life change.
Yeah, no, it's definitely been manageable. I mean, I tell the people that I work with all the time, it's a lot going on, but they're all really good things. I bucket my life into work at RBC and school at Darden. And then for a long time, it was wedding planning, and it was really busy, but busy in a good way. And, we're all young, so it's the time to kind of take those opportunities and run with them and be a little busier than we can be. So it's busy is definitely the word, but it's been a great experience.
Well, thank you, Holden. Eugene, how are you doing? How's everything?
Things are good. Things have been, so I don't know if I told you, but I recently made the move to New York City. So after the core program, because with the electives, I think we have so many different options of, the different types, flexibility. So with the async, online, and executive MBA programs, I was able to make the move and still be in the program, and we're trying to finish strong. We got what, six months left?
Yeah, I guess it depends on where you are and how fast you're planning to complete the program. You'll have some classmates that are finishing up in December, and I think many of your class will be finishing in May. Eugene, are you targeting May?
I am targeting May, yeah.
Maxwell, same for you, May?
Yep, same here. Hoping to get through in May. I should only have 2 classes, one in each quarter this upcoming spring. So happy to kind of have a lighter workload towards the finish line.
Yeah, such an exciting time for the part-time MBA program. So we're currently recruiting the 4th class of part-time MBA students. We now have over 500 students across the 3 professional degree programs that we offer here at the Darden School of Business, all learning out of Sands Family Grounds. So those 3 programs are part-time MBA, executive MBA, and MSBA. So over 500 students learning out of our space in the DC metro area. And this year we will have finally graduates from our part-time MBA program. We have a handful of students who are targeting December, and then a much larger group of students targeting May. But yeah, it's an exciting year. So let's talk a little bit more about three of you, and then we'll get into the Entrepreneurship and Venture Capital Club. Holden, I want to come to you first. So tell us a little bit more about who you are and your background.
Sure. Thanks, Brett. So I graduated from Syracuse University back in 2018, and from there moved to DC, worked for the Education Advisory Board, which they're the premier kind of consultant and technology provider for colleges and universities. Did a little bit of sales, some software implementation, service delivery. When COVID hit, I was reading everything I could that was out there. I stumbled upon entrepreneurship through acquisition, which we'll get into. Basically went to all the conferences. I was the only non-MBA student at those conferences, which was a pretty hard thing to walk around trying to explain to people that you're at these MBA conferences because you made some friends on Twitter or on the internet and you thought the topic was interesting. And then I went on to, work part-time for operators and people that were looking to buy small businesses. And, that led me to Darden. And ultimately I decided to, beef up my quantitative skills. I realized that if, buying and operating a business was something I would want to do, I could probably, use a little bit more education. So that ultimately led me to Darden, and a number of mentors that had been a part of different programs suggested that. So, joined the class in 2026, and then about a year into that started at RBC Wealth Management. So like I said, family team. My grandfather was a stockbroker in the 1950s. My father joined in 1985. Since then, the team's grown to 5. So it's my father, myself, 2 of my cousins, and another advisor. About 1.4 billion in assets under management. A lot of families we've worked with for 4 generations now, mostly coming out of my hometown of Bakerstown, Maryland. So I feel like I get the best of both worlds. I get to work in my hometown, part of the family team, but then also all the exposure I get through Darden, and then all of the passions and interests that I have that kind of get sprinkled in between work and Darden, and entrepreneurship through acquisition being one of those. So, a lot of good things going on in my world right now.
Yeah, that's exciting. ETA is one of those things that I think has really been growing in popularity with MBA students, like prospective MBA students as well. Maybe a difficult question to answer here, Holden, but I'll put you on the spot just a little bit. Why do you think ETA has become popular? Why it's seeing this surge of interest?
It's a great question, Brett. And I remember, the first time I found ETA, I was reading. There are two books out there that basically describe the whole process, everything from how you raise funds to go out and look for a business that you're going to acquire. And when I was reading those books, I was thinking, wow, like I've always been entrepreneurially inclined and interested in, either starting or running a business. And ETA is a way to kind of de-risk the entrepreneurship journey where, you're taking on debt to buy a small business, but what you're buying is, the systems and the cash flows and the customers that business currently works with. So I like an ETA to really, starting on second base of the business journey, you have a proven concept, you have that product market fit. And again, you're taking on some debt to fund the acquisition, but those acquisitions within ETA typically have a higher success rate than traditional startup entrepreneurship. So it's a really unique way to get involved with entrepreneurship, and I think that's why it's been picking up. There have been those articles in different newspapers about MBA students forgoing consulting and investment banking in favor of buying small businesses, and it's pretty funny because they're catching on maybe 20 years a little late, but the steam's been picking up with MBA students that are interested in, ETA, in addition to students that are not a part of programs. So I think it's only going to grow from here.
All right, I got to ask you one more question. So ETA mentioned there's 2 books that everybody basically reads. You remember those 2 books?
Yep. So the one is Buy Then Build. Yeah, that's Buy Then Build. And I think it's Walker Diebel who wrote that one. And then the other comes from 2 professors at another business school. And it's pretty sure it's the Guide to Buying a Small Business. And it's a little 200-page orange book that is kind of the de facto resource for anyone that's interested in search. That's kind of the place to start.
All right. Yeah. You get into search funds, entrepreneurship through acquisition, a lot of things to learn about there. And we just had Megan McGee on the podcast, who is spearheading a lot of Darden's efforts around ETA and because there are there's so much interest from current students. I think there's now even an ETA club down with a residential program, which is exciting. We're going to have the president of that club on the podcast soon. So thank you, Holden. Eugene, tell us a little bit more about you. Who are you, and what's your background?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Eugene Cho. I'm the VP of Ventures for the EVC Club. My background is in AI and artificial intelligence. So I studied math in college and was working at a consulting firm, learning how to do implement AI into existing procedures, or if there are problems that wasn't able to solve before, but now with AI we can. So I was always interested in solving hard problems, basically problem that thinking about problems differently. Is there like a different approach to this? Like working from a blank slate paper. And then that was basically what a lot of people did with venture, which is try to think of new ways to solve new problems, and then seeing if that scales. And the great thing about that is that it's okay to fail, and I think you are expected to fail. But if one of them is uh, actually does solve the problem, then that's the value that you create. So uh, I think that's really where I get a lot of the you know uh, satisfaction from. If Because at the end of the day, if you can't solve it, then we just go back to square one, which is no one was able to solve it before. So I really enjoy digging into these hard problems, and that's why venture was such an interesting area for me.
And you mentioned you got a relocation while you're in the program. So the part-time MBA program, the first 18 months are cohort-based core, and then you get into an elective period where you have flexibility to choose how fast or slow you like to complete the remaining credits. And the way that the electives work, you can choose to take electives on the part-time MBA schedule, or you can take electives on the executive MBA schedule. You can also take asynchronous electives, which are online-based courses. So Eugene, how have you made this work? You mentioned that you're in New York, and yet you're still in the part-time MBA program.
Yeah, yeah. So I think basically after our residency too, um, I signed up for three EMBA classes, I think. And I mean, a lot of our EMBA students are, I think a lot of them live in the DMV area, but also a lot of them live outside of the DMV area. So this program was designed for people who live outside, but still would come into DC, once a month to take classes and just hang out with everyone, which was actually perfect for me because even though I moved away, I still wanted to like see all my friends. So having that connection, and then over the summer, I think we had a good number of online classes that were offered, which was really great for flexibility. I know not just for me, but for other people who are traveling during the summer. So I definitely took advantage of the different formats that Darden provided these education. So I had no issues at all.
Yeah, for folks who just learned about the executive MBA program, the core of the schedule is, once a month weekend residencies in Roslyn with online class, typically a couple nights per week. And it's exciting to have this flexibility for both executive MBA and part-time MBA students in the elective period. I was talking with Yael, the leader of the program recently, and she said, a typical elective quarter, part-time MBA, executive MBA students probably have somewhere in the neighborhood about 13 to 15 electives to choose from that are offered in that particular quarter. And it's a question of what schedule you can make work for you. And Eugene, to your point, our executive MBA program typically will have anywhere from maybe 12 to 17, 19 states of residency represented. So people come in from all over the country to do that program. Whereas the part-time MBA program, because of the evening weeknight schedule, is really much more of a local program with 90+% of the students coming within maybe 30 miles or so of our location in Roslyn. So it does give you some flexibility when you get to that elective period. If you do have a life change, you have to move somewhere else, you could find a way to complete the program. Thank you for sharing that, Eugene. So Max, tell us a little bit more about you. Who are you and what's your background?
Hi there. Yeah. So I'm Maxwell Godwin. I am in the class of 2025 for the part-time MBA program. I originally did my BS in economics at the University of Maryland, and I'm currently a financial manager at the Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Lab for air and missile defense. I feel like I may have had the full Darden experience. I really dove in on this. And I was the first president of the Part-Time MBA Student Association, so I worked really close with the deans to help advocate for access for the part-time MBA students and EMBA students down at the Sans Family Grounds to different programs. And now I'm currently the president of the Entrepreneurship and Venture Capital Club. And I just have a real passion for entrepreneurship and making sure that students in the professional degree programs have access to anything entrepreneurship related at the University of Virginia and Darden. Last year, I started a business with an innovation grant that I was awarded, and also did an independent study with one of our professors, and was able to start figuring out, hey, how do I really take an idea from concept to an actual business that can hopefully operate one day. I was fortunate enough to be accepted in the iLab incubator over the summer, so I took a few weeks off to go participate down in Charlottesville with that program. And it was just wonderful being with full-time students, undergraduates, and even not UVA. So it's just a lot of fun getting to really dive into a lot of different areas of entrepreneurship and VC through Darden and have access to those opportunities.
You want to tell us a little bit more about your venture, Maxwell?
Yeah, sure. So really just started, my wife and I were sitting down at the kitchen table trying to figure out, how are we going to take care of this future house that we want to buy? And realized that there's really no good solution to figure out everything you need to do for like daily household maintenance and whatnot. So realized just that there was an inefficiency with that market, and initially started trying to go for a B2C business, building like a household management application for every homeowner. Realized that might be a little bit hard, and that there was really a better B2B angle. So right now we're working on developing this product that is going to be a SaaS application for home builders that they will give to their clients at closing for a new construction home. It's just a lot better from a data perspective, and basically takes that new homeowner as a kind of like a pocket guide to home ownership, and makes it so they can do anything they need to do to manage their home. And then the vision is to eventually go back to that B2C market, but just really start and understand what's important to new homeowners of these new construction homes.
What's an example of information that somebody would get from this product that you've created? And I'm a new homeowner. I've just received this from the home builder. Like, what would I look into this app or software for? Yeah,
so I talked to over probably 100 different homeowners and did a lot of customer discovery over the summer and into the spring as well. And a lot of the big issues where people just don't know what they don't know, and they can try and rely on themselves to organize to-do lists, what they need to do to take care of that home, but they tend to miss things. And when you miss things, it tends to void your warranty. And when you void your warranty, then you have nobody that's going to come fix it. So you're going to be out $5,000, $10,000 to get a simple fix if you don't remember to turn off your hose spigots outside. It could cost you a lot of money and a lot of heartache if you just follow the app's instructions and watch that little tutorial video that is also partnered with that home builder. You're going to save yourself a lot of heartache and hopefully money one day.
All right. Well, just a couple more questions, and then we'll get into the Entrepreneurship Venture Capital Club part of the discussion. But Holden, talk to me a little bit more about how you decided to pursue an MBA and what ultimately led you to Darden and the part-time MBA program specifically.
Sure. So when I was thinking about my next steps and getting an MBA, it was kind of funny because entrepreneurship, the right position or search, led me to getting an MBA. A lot of the people that I was doing projects for had attended Darden or other programs, and that was what led them into being able to fundraise for their search fund and buying a small business. And my background previously, I'd worked in software, I'd done some sales, but I didn't really have the financial skills to be able to evaluate, is this a good business to buy? Outside of the basics, like I know how to read the main financial statements and all of those things, but from a modeling perspective, I thought it'd be really worthwhile to come to Darden and just learn from the top class professors that we have, and the finance and accounting courses that I've taken so far. I'd like to think that that 10x my skills. Like I'm just a totally different person when looking at different aspects of business now compared to what before I joined the program. And the other thing too is, I was considering, do I do full time? Do I do part time? And I really liked living in DC. I didn't want to leave DC. And I also wanted to continue to work and make money because I didn't really want to be a full-time student again. And it's different for everyone. I recognize that. But when Darden offered the part-time program across the river in Roslyn, I saw it and I was like, oh man, this is really a no-brainer because it checks all the boxes that I've been looking for. So I knew kind of what I was going to get from an education perspective with the Darden and the University of Virginia brand. And when the program was offered on a part-time basis, I just knew that I had to apply.
Maxwell, for you, how did you decide you wanted to pursue an MBA, and what led you to Darden in the part-time MBA program? You were part of the inaugural class of part-time MBA students.
Yeah, so I think I always knew I wanted to do an MBA, and part of my journey to Darden was finding the role of the Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Lab because they have a really nice tuition benefit, which will allow you to do 24 credit hours of higher education every year. So I saw that opportunity. I saw Darden had started their MBA program, and it was like a match made in heaven almost. When thinking about an MBA in the DMV area, there's really only one option in my point of view, and that's University of Virginia Darden. At least that's what my professors at University of Maryland told me. So when the part-time MBA program popped up, I jumped on that very quickly and was very surprised to be admitted, but it's been such a wonderful experience, and I've learned so much over the past 2.5 years. I'm really excited to almost be done this program, but so happy for all the opportunities and everything that we've done here.
Eugene, you're also part of the inaugural class of part-time MBA students. How did you decide to pursue an MBA, and what led you to Darden?
Yeah, so I've always wanted to do an MBA. So I come from more of a technical background, so my degree was in engineering. But I was talking to my dad, and also just from my experience, you can't change the world with just technology. I think you need also the business aspect of it. Basically, how do you distribute this technology, in what ways? And I think the system is also really, really important in changing the world. So I've always wanted to do an MBA. So I was studying for the GMAT, looking to apply to a full-time program, and then COVID hit. And then at the time, I was not interested in going to COVID school, where the whole point of the MBA is to meet up and build and network and build friendship. But if you're not allowed to do that, then what are you really paying for? So I think it took me a couple more years trying to figure out like what I wanted to do, because I really enjoyed my job. I had almost like the best job in the world where I got to just play around with technology and show people how like all the cool things you can do with it, and I get paid for it. So that to me was like the best job. So I didn't want to leave that. So when I was trying to figure out like, all right, so then like how do I continue to develop professionally? And I saw that Darden was launching the inaugural part-time MBA program. So like everyone on this call, I think that was match made in heaven. I think this program really fit exactly what I was looking for. So I didn't apply to any of the other schools. And I think, Brett, I just talked to you and I said, you know what, bring me in. And I was actually pretty down to be in the inaugural class because, what other organization do you get to be the first one and shape the program? So I really wanted to contribute as much as I could receive from Darden. And I think over the past couple of years, I think I've been on a pretty decent track.
All right. Well, thank you all for sharing that background. Maxwell, I'm going to come to you with this next question. Tell us a little bit more about the Entrepreneurship and Venture Capital Club. There's also an equivalent club on the full-time MBA program. This is a club that's obviously very popular across all of Darden's MBA programs. So tell us a little bit more about EVC.
Yep. So entrepreneurship venture capital for every individual student that comes through Darden is going to look a little bit different for them. And the EVC Club's role is to be that aggregator of information and opportunity for those students. So whenever they get on that entrepreneurship and venture capital carousel, they know what opportunities are available to them, whether that's somebody wanting to start a new business and going through all the principles of effectuation to go from 0 to 1, or if that's somebody looking to do venture capital and wanting to do the venture capital learning series that Darden offers through the fall, and work with professors like Les Alexander and the Cav Angel Network to work on deals, or if it's ETA and working with people like Holden and the various ETA conferences that go on to figure out what it takes to either do a self-funded search or a traditional search where you're going to go out and acquire a business. I view the Entrepreneurship and Venture Capital Club as that, I guess, vessel for all students to come through and interact and then choose kind of what they want to do and go forth and really dive into their passion.
Thank you. Thank you for that overview, Maxwell. Eugene, how did you know you wanted to be a leader in the student organization? It's one thing to say I'm interested in a topic. It's another thing to say I'd like to play a leadership role in a student organization.
I realized that in the part-time MBA program, we have a lot of interests that, like Maxwell said, but I figured because so many things are happening in Charlottesville, I wanted to really bridge the gap. I wanted to let people know that, hey, like there are all these things that are going on in Charlottesville and also in DC. Let's bring them up together, right? Thing about entrepreneurship and also venture capital is that it's a very lonely journey. You feel like it's you're have everything on your shoulders. You're doing almost everything in the beginning, especially. So it can get very lonely as you're doing it. I think building that community of people who are not just trying to go for another consulting job or a tech job, but trying to build something from scratch. It's very hard to get people to understand that, but if you build a community, it really, really helps. So that's really what I want to facilitate, just bringing like-minded people together. And that's really where I think the leadership in the EVC Club, has allowed me to do.
Holden, how about for you? What led you to say I'd like to be involved as a leader of the EVC Club?
It was a funny journey because a lot of people were asking me to have this VP role for VP for ETA. There are a lot of acronyms that we use, and for me it was a form of giving back, right? So I've told a lot of people, like I joke, like I sell the story of search or search funds and how good it can be. And there have been a lot of good case studies out there written about search funds that don't work out well, but when I was interested in search, or really interested 2 years ago, I made all these connections, capital allocators or people looking to give money to searchers buying businesses, people that are searching to buy businesses, people that are operating businesses, the different flavors of search, so traditional self-funded or the accelerator or CXO programs. And I just made good relationships with all these people, and I keep up with them pretty frequently. And what I've been doing recently is just helping connect my Darden peers to my broader network within the search ecosystem. For those that are interested, and in an effective way, I've done a lot of one-on-one conversations, but I've also hosted some webinars. So I just figured, with the knowledge that I have, both around, how ETA and search works, the people or the main players within search, it just felt right to be a resource for the broader part-time and exec community, connecting them with the people that I know.
So Maxwell, there's a lot of people that touch entrepreneurship, venture capital at Darden. You got Batten Institute. One of the things that comes to mind first and foremost when you start talking about things like entrepreneurship. Talk to us a little bit more about what the EVC Club does, some of the other resources that come to mind as you think about entrepreneurship and venture capital for our professional degree students.
Yep. So for, I guess, the lay of the land down in Charlottesville and for the professional degree students, we have the Batten Institute, who is headed by Jason Brewster, who's the director of venture programs, and Omar Garrett, who's the executive director. They're the 2 point people for all things Batten and entrepreneurship at UVA. Then you have the Mayo Center for Asset Management, and you have a few people down there that work really hard to bring venture capital opportunities to the students in the Darden programs, whether it's full-time or professional degree. For events that are usually hosted from the EVC program, I think we can pass it over to Holden in a minute, but there's different opportunities to network with founders that have gone through that journey of starting a business. And in my opinion, it's really great to learn from people that have been there before. And founders are awesome. Had a bunch of them come through the iLab incubator over the summer, and they're really eager to share their experiences and what they've done. And Holden had a conversation with an ETA professional a couple of days ago, if he wants to talk about that for a second.
Yeah. One of the people in my network, actually one of the first people to hire me for a project, we were connected at the time. I was on Twitter and I was talking to one of his friends and who also went to business school with him. And he was saying, I have a friend who just bought a business in Charlottesville, Virginia, and he's looking for some data analysis help or market research too. And I got connected there, over email, and we met. I did a couple projects for him as he was pretty new to his business. And he gave me some advice too when I was thinking about Darden and part-time versus full-time. And, we just kept in touch over the years and caught up with each other, little updates here and there. And then I was actually reading a case study in one of the classes a quarter or two ago, and it mentioned his business, which I thought was pretty funny. So I sent him a snippet from the case study and I said, hey, your business was mentioned, figured I'd share. And we were catching up from there, and I asked him, would you ever do a webinar with a lot of the students from the part-time and exec programs that are interested in search? So we set up the webinar. It was this past Tuesday. We had about 25 students attend from the program, which was a pretty good turnout. And he just shared his story, everything from his time in business school to what led him to search and how he fundraised for his search. When he met the owners of the business that he ultimately acquired, how he closed that deal, what it was like operating the business for the first 100 days, and ultimately what led to him exiting that business. And, I always joke with the people in the club, like I can show you the resources and I can tell you kind of the different people you might want to talk to if you're interested in a particular thing. But ultimately, the most important thing when you're early on and interested in search is you should talk to the people that are searching for businesses, the people that have bought businesses, the people that are allocating capital to people interested in buying businesses. So I try and do my best to, reduce the amount of information or storytelling that I do and just connect people with the right people that have actually done the things that they're interested in. So the webinar was a great success, and it was really nice of my friend to jump on the line with all of us and share about his experience, and I was very appreciative.
And if I can jump back in, it's also just helping provide students with, as the Batten team and Effectuation will say, is like that bird in hand, giving students the ability to do what they can do today and help them do things that don't scale, because it's just really quick validating learning about what's important for a business and seeing if that opportunity is viable. So failing fast, failing often, and figuring out what really works. And I think that's part of what the EVC Club is here to do, is promote that type of mentality and ecosystem for students.
And Max, I understand maybe you have a new position coming to the EVC board or something you're working on with the club organization.
Yep, that's right. So we have a new member of the EVC Club that is a ExecMBA student that's based down in Charlottesville. He's a 2026 EMBA, Joel Flesher, and he's going to be a coordinator between the residential full-time program and the professional degree students, as well as sharing some of the stuff that's going to be happening down in Charlottesville that we just might not hear about down here at SFG. He's going to help us have more access to things that are going on down there and take part in some more of the larger, I guess almost 400 students in the full-time program. So he's going to be able to interact with a lot of the full-time students that are interested in entrepreneurship and help share some of that learning with the professional degree students.
Yeah, if you add both full-time MBA classes together, you get about 700 or so. It's about 350 per matriculated class. So quite a few people. But the thing I always mention to folks is, we now have over 500 students up here in the DC area. So we're not quite at 700, but we're not too far behind. So I think that's something that's important to note here. Pretty robust communities in both places, but good to hear about Joel's work connecting the two groups. I think this is something that we hear from prospective students all the time. They're curious about how they can connect with full-time MBA students, how those connections happen. And, it's a good example of somebody who's down there working on this and is eager to help facilitate that. So, Eugene, I'm wondering, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Max.
Yeah, and I just can't highlight the Batten team itself enough for what they've done to help integrate the programs and give the part-time and EMBA students access to things like the innovation grants, the iLab over the summer, and Carlos Bertorini's new tech kind of hub that he's working on developing for students in the DC area. It's all kind of synthesizing under this Batten Mayo Clinic EVC space, and they've done such a wonderful job including us in what they're doing.
Yeah, I'll share, if you're curious about the Batten Institute, a few podcast conversations you might want to check out. Our conversation with Carlos Bertoni, where he talks about his work around the Tech Hub and just hosted the second annual Tech Connect conference that just happened up here. He is a Darden alum and has come back to really work on sort of building out Darden's tech presence and really kind of focused on a lot of opportunities in the DC area with all the tech work that is done up here. There's also a conversation that we had, I mentioned, with Megan McGee. And then last but not least, if you're curious about venturing at Darden, check out our conversation with Jason Brewster. He talks about the summer iLab program and just all the things happening around venture at Darden. He is director of ventures for the Batten Institute. So additional listening if you're curious about some of the things that we've been talking about here today. So Eugene, I'd like to come to you next and just sort of ask you kind of like a big question. Obviously, it sounds like the EVC Club has a lot going on, but what are some things that you're looking forward to here in the months ahead? Some things that you're excited about?
Yeah, I really so last year I participated in the Entrepreneurship Club. That's the UVA wide like pitch competition. So think of it as Shark Tank, basically where you go up to you submit an application, they pick out some of the 10 finalists, and then they choose 5 after a live pitch competition in Charlottesville. So I was able to participate in that, and it was a lot of fun. It's nerve-wracking, but in a good way. So I really want to bring more people into this because I had so much fun, and I think a lot of people have good ideas. And just even going through the process, I think it was a great learning opportunity for me. So I really want to share that with the other part-time and EMBA classmates, and really hope that they can participate.
Holden, how about for you? What are you looking forward to?
Recently, Brett, we had the Entrepreneurship Through Acquisition conference for the Southeastern MBA schools or MBA programs, and that was hosted across the river. It was early September, and I was joking with Maxwell and Eugene. I actually had to miss that one because I was on my honeymoon, so a good reason to miss the ETA conference this year. But I know a lot of students from Darden went to that this year, and it's usually a wide variety of people on panels and different information sessions. And that was, from what I hear, a really good time. There are also a number of other search and ETA-focused conferences that are happening in the Northeast, in the Chicago area, that I know a lot of our students are going to go to. And then, we have more webinars coming up. So I'm talking to a couple more friends. One that bought a business through, an accelerator program up in Boston. I'm excited for everyone to meet him soon. And a couple more people in the hopper that are interested in talking to everyone in the ETA side of the EVC Club. So hopefully more conversations to be had.
Well, I guess if you have to miss the conference, your honeymoon is a good reason. But the good thing about that conference is it's an annual conference, and it rotates around. So you'll have a chance to go next year, hopefully.
Yeah. And Brett, it's crazy how much that conference has grown over the years, specifically the Southeastern Entrepreneurship Through Acquisition Conference. When I went back towards the tail end of COVID, it was maybe 40 students and a handful of people involved in the search world, and then everyone coming back who was an operator or done a search fund. But it was a small conference, and that conference has just grown and grown and grown as the interest in search has grown. So it's pretty cool to see people getting more and more interested in showing up, attending those conferences.
Yeah, it's got to be fascinating to have that longitudinal perspective, like 40 people to where it is now. I'm sure it's hundreds of people attending that. Yeah, no doubt. All right, Maxwell, what are you looking forward to in the months ahead?
And I'm gonna try and keep this short because there's so much in the next couple months that I'm looking forward to. We just had the first round of Batten Innovation grants going through, and those applications I believe were awarded. So a lot of people that are going to be working on doing some of that quick validation of their ideas. Personally, I had a really exciting fall. Just went through the digital product management class with Professor Alex Cowan, and my partner on my group project, who I found an EMBA student, is a director of enterprise technology at a home builder. So we had a lot of really great conversations about what my business could look like and ways to test it and validate it and help improve my value proposition. So I've taken that advice that she has helped me, kind of cultivate and putting that into the application right now. So just working on that development and hopefully kind of getting that first alpha out the door. I'm hoping by the end of November. That's the goal here, and hopefully start selling the thing. Other than that, I'm excited to keep learning more about the Batten Founder Fellows program, which is, I believe, a new program the Batten Institute's offering this upcoming year for MBA students that have also gone through iLab to receive an additional sum of money to keep working on their ideas as a dedicated full-time employee, and making it so you can take that risk to go all in on your venture without being too burdened without a salary. So it's a really great program, and excited to keep seeing the great ideas coming out of the Batten Institute.
All right, last question for everybody here. Holden, I know you're about a year into the program or so, but when you look back before you started the program to where you are now, what's been the impact of your time here at Darden?
It's night and day, Brett. I think I talked previously about the difference and just everything that I've learned in the courses throughout the first year, but all the friends that I've made along the way too, from my learning team, the 5 of us that are meeting up on Sundays to prep the cases for the week, and then everyone in between. We just have, our group at RBC has an annual, picnic at my parents' barn up in Hagerstown. We have clients and friends and family and everyone, and there were about a dozen students from my cohort that made the journey up an hour up the road, and had some pizza and some tacos and saw the horses and everything. And it was a really good time. And there's so many countless dinners that we've had, and I knew that there would be that sense of community, but it's been so much fun to make friends with interesting people doing interesting things in the area. All the intangibles outside of the classroom.
Yeah, I love that. People have always wondered, can you do all that and be in a part-time MBA program? The answer, at least here at Darden, is yes. Maxwell, how about for you? What's been the impact of the program?
So much. So I talked a little bit about how, I dove kind of headfirst into trying to do everything that I could do at Darden. Really wanted to maximize my time and not look back on the almost 3 years here like I didn't do things that I wanted to do and explore. And I think I recognized it over the summer at the iLab that when I was working with the other students that come from alumni UVA, other Darden students, and just undergrads as well, Darden has a way of helping you mold your frame of thinking, and I feel like I just think about problems in a completely different way, and I'm able to kind of unlock insights that I wasn't previously able to do. And that I didn't have before I started my MBA. So being able to learn what we've learned here has been such an incredible experience, and the friends that we've made along the way as well. Just so thankful for the opportunity to, go through this program. So thank you, Brett.
Yeah, like I said, so excited for you and your classmates. It's great to have people at this point in the journey where can see graduations just on the horizon there. So, Eugene, you get the last word here. What's been the impact of your time here at Darden?
Oh man, I think Darden definitely allowed me to step out of my comfort zone. I mean, like I said, I think hanging out with mostly engineers. Being in the part-time MBA program, I got to meet so many different people from all over the industry. You got people in politics, people in energy, you got people in military, people from all different backgrounds and having different perspectives really helps you think about problems in different ways. Like Maxwell said, I think the school definitely pushes you to do that, but also I think your classmates, your work, because when you're out there, like, you're working with so many different people. So that's been a real highlight. The other one is that I think it's just really nice to be back in school where you get to really be there for learning. And you can ask any questions with these world-renowned professors. And I think having that kind of like discussion, discussion method, the Harkness table, that was great. It was basically you're not just learning from the professor, but like the professor's learning from you. It was a real academic experience.
Maxwell, Eugene, Holden, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's been great talking with you and exciting to hear about all these things that UVC Club is doing. Keep us posted as you're hosting webinars and having events. It's been great to see the growth in clubs and organizations for our professional degree students. There was a time when we had 0 clubs and organizations for our executive MBA students, and then we had maybe 3 or 4, and then the part-time MBA programs kind of come along, and we've had this real flowering of extracurricular opportunities. I think we have 10 official student organizations. We have a number of interest groups that are starting to move towards being official student organizations. We have the Executive Student Association. We have the Part-Time MBA Student Association. All this has happened in really just a few years. So it's been great to see. So thank you for all that you're doing. And thanks for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, really appreciate the time, Brett.
Thanks, Brett.
Thank you for having us.
And that was my conversation with Maxwell Godwin, Eugene Cho, and Holden Hershey, 3 students in the part-time MBA program here at the Darden School of Business and 3 leaders of the Entrepreneurship and Venture Capital Club serving our professional degree programs. As always, if you have any comments, suggestions, requests, anything you'd like for us to cover here on the podcast, we're all ears. We can be reached at that's ExecMBA at darden.virginia.edu. And until next time, stay safe, be well, and thanks for listening.